Good morning. Time on deck is 6:49 a.m. Pacific time, or 06:49, depending on your understanding and your acclimation within the world. I am always with you and at you with uncompare because I just get up and I just do these things. I wake up, like I put on my shirt the other night, backwards apparently. I don't care to fix it. Uh, I just want to read things to you. I've gotten tired of this picture thing. I have a couple videos I want to do like that, but I enjoy this a lot more. I think this is a bit more honest about me, you know, as far as just my own personal feeling towards it. I have nothing to hide from you people. Nothing. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. Cause I'm grown. You understand? So I'm not justifying myself to anyone who is speaking from almost a hypocritical point of judgment. I'm not vindicating myself to someone who doesn't even understand what the word means. You understand? I'm not going to validate myself to someone who is not validated already. I am not going to confirm, affirm, deny, multiply, subtract, reduce, produce, manipulate, or any other way type of coerce the information about myself. I just say what it is. If I speak on a specific thing within the happening, I might not have the time or the ability to expound on the things that all took place within that. That does not mean that I withheld that information willingly. I do my best to congeal the information as it is to be one. So in my mind, when I read the book of the Genesis and I start in chapter 1 and it says to me something like this, since I'm already here, I might as well just go ahead and go there. Forgive me, this Bible's older, so I have to be delicate. And it says, that the chapter 1 in the beginning. Now, I want you to understand this, is that there is a reason for everything. As I read this to you, I will break it down what this is to mean. This is an expound. This is to expound on the Genesis, the beginning. And I want you to understand something. Before I read this to you, it claims here in this book, the events recorded in Genesis cover a period of 2,315 years. So they're saying from the time that happened to the time that the book of the Genesis ends, it's only a 2,000 year period. If you listen to what these people are saying, I have to expound this quickly. They are saying the earth is only several thousand years old, maybe 6 or 7,000, 8,000. I believe it could be 12,000 years maximum. In my mind, the oldest this planet is 12,000 years old. That's the oldest it could be. I know people have a hard time conceiving this. I put forth these thought-provoking ideas so that way you don't get caught with your pants down. I ain't never wanted my people to get caught with their pants down. I don't want to get caught with mine's down. But I'm susceptible to being at the wrong place, the wrong time, or coercing myself into something that is foolhardy, as is anyone else. So when I say what I say, chapter 1, verse 1, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. One moment. And the earth was without form and void. One moment. Listen, this is funny. This is where people get this idea that there was a life before the actual first people in Adam. Because this man named Schofield has put within his book all these ideas before verses. Look, it says right here, the original creation. Then it says, earth made waste and empty by judgment, right? But that's in a that's in Jeremiah 23:20. Look, he skips forward to Jeremiah 23:26 as if that relates right to it. And while we're here, we're gonna go there. In the Septuagint. So he said Jeremiah chapter 4. I'm almost there. Chapter 4, verse 23, 20 through 26. One moment. And it says right here. Excuse me. I looked upon the earth, and behold, it was not. And to the sky there was no light in it. And I beheld the mountains, and they trembled. And I saw all the hills in commotion. I looked, and behold, there was no man. And all the birds of the sky were scared. I saw, and behold, Carmel was desert, and all the cities were burnt with fire. At the presence of the Lord, and at the presence of his fierce anger, they were utterly destroyed. One moment. This man has taken a small piece of a prophecy. You understand? And I can't expound all the way into the prophecy right now, but he's taken a very small piece of a prophecy and he's put it at the very beginning of this book that has nothing to do with what's going on right now. You understand that? I feel the need to expound these things because there are people, many people who are under the shroud of belief based on what this man said. The other day, this man named Mulango Kato came to a man named Baptized the Scribe, who goes under the banister or the billet of Tetragrammaton Lion. And I would say billet over title because that would be a billet, not just a title. One moment. And he says that there's this creation before Adam. And I can't help but to believe that he got this from here. You know? So when I say what I say, I stand on the logic of what makes sense. My 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 brother says that the most high God of everything does everything in decency and order. I believe that. I believe that before I ever heard anybody ever say it to me. It only makes sense that the most high only makes sense. Okay? But they could never expound why, where, in which these other energies, these other forces, influencing factors that are here right now tangibly, you understand, but not seen through the spectral eye, can we acknowledge that actually do play a part in this life. So when I speak these words, and once again, I come to you like this so that way you can see that I am not being able to pull out of a dictionary every time to think of the word. This is why I have to sit here and I pause, I think. It's one hit. One hit. This is the one hit one right here. I like this one. We're not going to stop it. We're not going to, no, I'm not going to delete it or nothing. This is when that's coming to you. You get me? So I just have to come to you like this, that there are so many misunderstandings just right there. Within the very first part, I had to stop, and we're 8 minutes and 48 seconds in. Do you get that? Just on little things. So when I say to you that you cannot go over these words as if they're nothing, and then to say that the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. One moment. Now, what this actually is chronicling is that when the Most High made the heavens and the earth, obviously, everything that it speaks on about the earth, you can assume that the heavens were created, like were furnished and all that first. You understand? This is where he's gonna abode, the heavens of heavens, and then the heavens. So, and my point to this is because in the Septuagint, it's worded slightly different. You know what I'm saying? And what I mean by is that in verse 2 it says, but the earth was unsightly and unfurnished, and that's the difference, right? Because the darkness was over the deep part. That's the same thing, you know. See, no, darkness was upon the face of the deep, and it says here that darkness was over the deep. So when you, I mean, when you put the word face and then you say upon as opposed to over, things change. So this is it right here, people. This is all I got. This is the spirit change in my pocket. You get me? I mean, this isn't everything I've got, but this is where I'm at. Can you believe a man said to me about a year ago something about the book of Genesis and how he couldn't get out of it? He's like, I just can't get out of it. And I laughed at him. Thought it was funny. Then I go to the book of Genesis and get stuck. And here I am almost a year later, still stuck there. Still putting together excuse the watch, it'll go off in a moment. Putting together the times and the struggles were in which, as I read this right here, as the man says, the three primary names of deity: Elohim, Jehovah, Adonai. So people have to understand that these are different forces. They're not the names of one thing, man. And that's the thing about this guy being a real Gentile, calling anybody but an Israelite or a Jew a Gentile, right? There's a difference between a Hebrew and an Israelite. I cannot express this enough. Ibrahim was not the first Hebrew. I cannot stress this enough. If you don't believe me, okay, that's fine. That's fine. But the Egyptians obviously knew what Hebrews were when they went in there. It wasn't like this is the first guy ever. He's like, yeah, I'm a Hebrew. They're like, yeah, he's a Hebrew. I'm quite sure that's not how it worked out. So when I say what I say, just like with Abraham going into Egypt, the reason why he told Sarah, his sister and his wife, to say, look, you're only my sister for right now, because he had many and much valuable possession and servants and whatnot. So if I'm just her brother, right, we're brother and sister, you feel me? You're less likely to want to take everything from me because I'm not a threat to you for her. You can just have her. You see what I'm saying? Whereas these are all my things and this is my wife. Well, we kill him, take all of his stuff and his wife. So this is how it would have. That's exactly how it would have happened. I'm quite sure these weren't regular people exactly either that he might have been dealing with. I won't get too far carried away with that, and as to how that affects the Israelite bloodline directly. I won't get too far carried away with the fact that Ibrahim or Abraham is a Chaldean. Very much so. And probably one who casts many spells. Don't worry, I have a nice little picture video coming up for that when I hop back to the Project Abraham scheme. When I finally do get back to the Middle Earth scheme, I will most definitely shed light on many different situations with that. I've come to the realization that I cannot expect what it is that I would do for someone else for people to do for me. So I expect too much, is what I'm saying. My expectations now are lowered. You see, I will not expect anything. I don't expect anyone to watch this. I don't expect anything. I expect for me to post it and to put it out there and for it to be what it is. I expect for people to maintain their own beliefs within their mind because they just cannot take it. They can't take it. I'm not trying to be right. I don't need to be right. It just sounds awkward is all I'm saying. Many things that I have put forth and presented in a very slow, timely fashion. When I had like 6 subscribers, 4 subscribers, nobody listening. And I'm just cranking out video after video after video. And I just find it funny that these are things that I've spoken on and I've expounded it very much. And because the other videos don't have very many views, people in their shallow minds won't watch them. And I can say that because if you haven't watched it, because it only has 22 views from a year ago or almost 2 years ago, your mind is shallow. That's the only logical explanation. So don't feel angry. Don't get angry. Unsub if you like or whatever. I don't care. I never did this to make people happy. I did this because I thought I was seeing information that was right in front of me that other people have had, still do, the audiences to bring forth this information and make it clear and concise. I have no need to character bash. I am pointing out simple fallacies within things that we may not look at as people. I understand the spiritual nature of all this. I am simply pointing out the base value. If you cannot take the base value, that's I what can I do for that? Antiquate that within yourself. Make that nothing. Render it obsolete. One moment. But as you say the things that you, I'm gonna go to something real quick, and then please tell me if you think I'm tripping. Just tell me if you think I'm tripping as I read it, because I'm gonna read it in both this King James Version Bible, right to you, and then I'm gonna read it out of this Septuagint here. And I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna read the points very quickly, and then you tell me what you gathered from it. I'm not gonna stop and expound anything because people are very intelligent or smarter than me, I guess. You know. Once again, it's a slap to the very least your mouth. You know, for things that you are sure that I've never heard a person say ever in my life. And you might be the first person to have gurgitated them in who knows how many years, decades, centuries, millennia, and done so unsurely. You were so unsure of yourself to say these things, but you were willing to throw yourself in a wood chipper. It's easy to say something once a person's expounded on it. I can take anybody's idea once they put it forward. I can just run with it. It's nothing. Don't worry. When I go back to the things that I have taken a hiatus from, I will point out many things that parties will overlook. I will not bash King David across his head without having a good reason. I will not tell you about the depths and the layers of our leveled yet, right? Dilapidated hills and mountains planet. I'm not worried about that. I'll come back to that later. But for right now, let's go to Genesis chapter 10. Right? And we're going to skip forward. Okay? And what we're going to do right now is I'm going to read the very last part of each part of the children, and I want you to listen to it, and then I'm going to read chapter 11. Okay? And then I'm going to go back and read a specific part about a specific character, and then you tell me if you believe logically that all these people could have been in different places and in different times. One moment. Verse 5, chapter 10. By these were the isles of the Gentiles divided in their lands, every one after his tongue, after their families and their nations. One moment, skipping forward. Here we go, and then we get to verse 20. These are the sons of Ham, after their families, after their tongues, in their countries, and in their nations. Now, let's just go by. Let's go back. By these were the isles of the Gentiles divided. Right on. In their lands. Listen. So, verse 5 indicates that Japhet is no longer known as a Japhetite all the way, but some of his seed are specifically known as Gentiles. Specifically. Okay? That does not mean that there are no longer Japhetites. It just means that this is the banister of people who will come and later on take on the banister of the people who were supposed to be the people. Do you understand that? Okay. Verse 20, when it says that these are the sons of Ham, and they indicate that these people are still Hamitic, one moment, after the families, after their tongues, in their countries, and in their nations. So that doesn't mean that they will look the same. It just means that these people are still under a Hamite banner. One moment. And then when we go to verse 31, it says, these are the sons of Shem, after their families and after their tongues, and their lands after the nations. One moment. So, bam. I say that because the people are still Shemitic. You understand that? So only do one of the children of Noah not maintain their normal name banister, and they become a something else outside of the normal understanding of what it is to be a man. So they are no longer normal men. They are Gentiles now. They become known as Gentiles. Their bloodlines are taken over specifically by these Gentile creatures with no trace of them left. One moment. Verse 32. These are the families of the sons of Noah after the generations and their nations. By these were the nations, and by these were the nations divided in the earth after the flood. One moment. By these were the nations divided in the earth after the flood. So if we go over here to chapter 10, and we start at verse 5, again. From these were the isles of the Gentiles divided in their land, each according to his tongue, and their tribes, and in their nations. One moment. And then if we were to go to verse 21 again, verse 20 in this book. These were the sons of Ham, and their tribes, according to their tongues, and their countries, and in their nations. One moment. And then we go to verse 30. Yep. 31, These were the sons of Sem, and their tribes, according to their tongues, and their countries, and in their nations. Verse 32. These are the tribes of the sons of Noah, according to their generations, according to their nations. From them, this is the colon, so this also, but this is, understand that this is what happens, right on. Of them were the islands of the Gentiles, or simply Gentiles, scattered over the earth after the flood. So it doesn't bring up the division of the Gentiles here. It just says, and by these were the nations divided in the earth after the flood. So huge difference. And you need to understand this because the Gentiles are everywhere. And they're not just one color. They're a specific being because they come from a specific branch of people. The Gentiles, by definition, in my heart of hearts, are people that come from the first creation and are the children of angelic hosts, or are children of angelic hosts through animals that were made to look like humanoid hybrids. I know you don't want to hear this right now. The children of angelic hosts mixed with the humans on this planet and the animals and the humanoid hybrids. I mean, there are a plethora of things that I could say that these Gentiles are and were, which is why there was so much turmoil and strife with these kingdoms, because people who were not the people were assuming to be the people. Can you understand that? One moment. So, as I say, what I'm about to say, take no offense, anyone. Chapter 10, and we are at verse 11 in the KJV. Out of that land went forth Ashur, and built Nineveh, and the city of Rehoboth, and Calah, and Reshine between Nineveh and Calah. The same as the great city. One moment. Now, if we skip forward just a little bit, the children of Sem, Elam, and Ashur, and Arphaxad, and Lud, and Aram. Now, I want y'all to understand something. It just told you who Ashur was, and it just told you what he did. So when you don't hear about Ashur and his children in this mentioning, it's because his children are the Ninevites and the people of these other cities. Can you dig it? My hands are up. I say nothing else about that. Okay? In particular. Now let's go to chapter 11 in the Septuagint, verse 1. And all the earth was one lip, and there was one language to all. And it came to pass, as they moved from the east, so that means that they came from the east, they lived in the east, and they moved inward from the east. They found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. One moment. So it means that it doesn't mean that they were all the way from the east, but it means that they were already in the east, so they were more east than what they were. So wherever they localed in, came into, located at, right on, that means that they were now coming from still an eastbound position, not westbound and not a northbound. They were still eastward. It means that they made a trek to the west somehow. Western, right on. The only way you can move from the east is to come the opposite direction. Thank you very much. Because even if you go southerly, right on, you still have to go to some lateral degree. Because if you're still in the east, it's only southeast. So you didn't move from the east. You stayed right where you're at. You see what I'm saying? And then it would probably indicate that they went southward. Anyhow, as they moved from the east, and it came to pass as they moved from the east, they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. One moment, they, being all the children of Shem, Ham, Japheth, because they were all one people, all one language, taught by their father Noah, right on. Whatever their actual lineage and race was before the flood, don't even worry about that. I got something I'm working on for that too. But I don't want to put too much out there right now. I'm almost done. And it came to pass. They moved from the east. They found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And a man said to his neighbor, "Come, let us make bricks, and bake them with fire." And the brick was to them for stone, and the mortar was bitumen. So the mortar was a resin. You know what I mean? Sticky substance that would dry and become hard. And they said, "Come, let us build to ourselves a city and tower, whose top shall be to heaven. And let us make to ourselves a name before we are scattered abroad upon the face of all the earth." And the Lord came down to see the city, and the tower which the sons of men built. And the Lord said, "Behold, there is one race, and one lip of all, and they have begun to do this. Now nothing shall fail from them, all that they may have undertaken to do. Come, having gone down, let us there confound their tongue, that they may not understand each other, the voice of his neighbor." And the Lord scattered them thence over the face of all the earth, and they left off building the city and the tower. On this account its name was called Confusion, because there the Lord confounded all the languages of the earth, and thence the Lord scattered them upon the face of all the earth. And then it picks up with Sim, because this is his book, once again, like I pointed out before. The major thing here is that this happened before these people were languages and nations and peoples. So yes, there would have been, if Nebrod was a giant, if Dedan we know was a giant, you understand that? And this time, these guys were might have been one of very few. I mean, one of the only giants running around, which is why that would have been like, holy shit, there's a giant. Excuse my language, but yeah, I mean, right, you got to get this. They had knowledge before the flood. Shem, Ham, Japheth. What are the chances they didn't give any of this knowledge to their children? Ham slept with his father. He saw his father's nakedness. I cannot stress this enough. This is why it tells you not to have sex with your father. That is a Hamitic trait that the Egyptians and the Canaanites are known for. Devices the Most High God tells Moses to tell the children of Israel, the congregation of Israel, not to do. Does anybody not get that that's a genetic predisposition to the Hamitic people? Right. This is about genetics, y'all. When I read it to you, it's about genes and chemistry and all that stuff. The things that these wizards try to explain to you now, but they have no understanding, because they would rather tell you that this is fake, because if this is real, that means that there's judgment coming. And everything that they say makes them, it'll diminish them once you see what they are. Anyhow, did anyone catch that they moved from the east, and that they were all one peoples at that time? And that if we listen closely to it, the people who are supposed or disposed to having cities, right on, this probably all happened afterwards. So when it says that, and Nebrod, one second, and Nebrod, and Cush begot Nebrod, colons, he began, so this is after he began to be a giant upon the earth. One moment, listen to this right here. This is afterwards, so this, you could easily argue that he became a giant after the separation of the Tower of Confusion, which is why, anyhow, and you could argue that he got this knowledge from things that came from the middle of the planet. Anyhow, let me stop there. And who's to say that the things from the middle of the planet didn't somehow have an influence, a mind or a hand in these people trying to build this tower that the Most High would have to separate and scatter the people? Because they're, once again, Did you not remember when the Most High said just like this? Hold on, let me repeat it to you. Chapter 9. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. Chapter 8. And the Lord God smelled a smell of sweetness. And the Lord God, having considered, said, I will not any more curse the earth, because the works of men, because the imagination of man is intently bent upon evil things from his youth. I will not therefore smite all living flesh as I have done all the days of the earth. Seed and harvest, cold and heat, summer and spring shall not cease by day or night. So when I say to you what I'm saying to you, I stand on just a little bit, just a little bit, a wee bit of action there. Anyhow, I would tell you why the heathen rages and the nations imagine vain things, and how that last part has everything to do with that. We're not going to worry about that for right now. For now, watch this. I'm getting something ready about Paul. My Paul's coming out either later today, early tomorrow. It's Paul time, baby. Peace out.